Today, knowing whether something is safe to eat feels almost invisible. You pick up a package, check the label, scan the ingredients, look for the expiration date, and trust a whole inspection system you never actually see. If you are unsure about a mushroom, you can search it online. If a child swallows the wrong berry, you can call poison control. If food smells strange, you throw it away and open the refrigerator again. Now, remove all of that. No labels, no supermarkets, no poison control, no microscopes, no chemistry textbooks, no doctors waiting nearby, no app that tells you whether a plant is safe, no warning symbol on a deadly seed. For ancient humans, the world was full of possible food, possible medicine, and possible death. A root could feed a hungry child, or twist the stomach for hours. A mushroom could be harmless, or look almost exactly like another one that damaged the liver. A berry could be bright, sweet, and still dangerous. A clear pool could look clean and carry sickness. Even meat, if stored too long or taken from the wrong animal, could become a threat. So how did ancient humans know what was poisonous? The common answer is simple. They tried things, watched who got sick, and remembered. Painful mistakes must have been part of the story. But that answer is too small. Ancient humans were not reckless taste testers wandering through forests. People who behaved that way probably did not survive long enough to teach anyone. The real answer is more intelligent and more human. They used observation, cautious testing, preparation, memory, social learning, and culture. They did not know toxins the way modern chemistry knows toxins, with molecular names and lab tests. But they knew effects. They knew patterns. They knew that some things burned the mouth, some caused vomiting, some brought fever, some made the limbs weak, and some were safe only after soaking, roasting, pounding, or boiling. Archaeologists see traces of this knowledge in charred seeds, grinding stones, plant residues, hearths, and tools used to process foods that were not always safe or pleasant in their raw state. Ethnobotanical studies also show that many traditional societies classify plants by taste, season, habitat, preparation method, body effect, and risk. Poison knowledge was not just fear. It was practical survival science before science had a name. And the first laboratory was the human body. That sounds dramatic, but the idea is simple. A poison is any substance that harms the body when it enters in the wrong amount, in the wrong form, or through the wrong route. Some poisons attack the nervous system. Some damage the liver. Some irritate the gut. Some interfere with breathing or heart rhythm. Some do not kill quickly, but weaken the body until dehydration, infection, or exhaustion becomes the real danger. So ancient people were not looking for one universal sign that said poison. There is no single smell, color, or shape that reveals danger every time. A beautiful berry can be toxic. A bitter root can be medicine. A mild-tasting mushroom can be deadly. A disgusting-looking insect can be edible. A clear stream can still carry parasites. This is where survival becomes strange. The safest-looking option could be the worst one. Modern life trains us to trust appearance. Clean packaging means safe food. Clear water looks drinkable. Fruit in a store means someone already checked it. But ancient humans had to treat appearance as only the first clue, never the final answer. So they watched the world. Before anyone put a new plant in their mouth, the landscape had already been giving information. Birds dropped into a thicket and pecked at small fruits. Monkeys stripped leaves from one branch and ignored another. Wild pigs rooted beneath certain trees. Deer browsed young shoots. Rodents carried seeds into burrows. Insects clustered on flowers, avoided leaves, or died in strange numbers near a pool. To modernize, that might look like background nature. To a hungry human group, it was data. Animal behavior could suggest possibilities. If several animals returned to the same fruit again and again, that fruit might deserve attention. If animals avoided a plant completely, that mattered too. But this was never a simple rule. A bird can eat berries that make humans sick. Some mammals tolerate bitter compounds better than we do. Deer may nibble tiny amounts of a plant that would be dangerous as a full meal. Pigs can digest things that human stomachs reject. Animal behavior was a guide, not a guarantee. It gave ancient humans a starting point, not permission. The same was true of smell, texture, and taste. A rotten smell warned of decay. Sourness could signal fermentation or spoilage. Milky sap could irritate skin or mouth. Intense bitterness often suggested chemical defenses. A burning feeling on the lips, numbness on the tongue, swelling in the mouth, or a sharp chemical bite would have been taken seriously. Here is the biology behind that. Plants cannot run away. So many defend themselves chemically. Some make bitter compounds. Some produce irritants. Some store toxins in seeds, leaves, roots, or sap. The plant is not trying to poison humans specifically. It is trying not to be eaten by insects, animals, fungi, and anything else that damages it. Humans entered that chemical battlefield every time they foraged. But the signs were imperfect. Some safe foods are bitter before cooking. Some dangerous plants taste mild. Some medicinal plants sting or smell strong because they contain powerful compounds that can help in small doses and harm in large ones. So ancient people needed more than senses. They needed pattern recognition. Pattern recognition is one of the oldest survival skills humans have. If a group drank from one still pool and several people became sick, that location entered memory. If the same sickness happened after rain, the season mattered. If a crushed leaf burned the skin every time, the plant became dangerous. If a root was safe only after roasting, the preparation became part of the rule. If stored nuts grew mold and people hallucinated or vomited after eating them, the mold became a warning. This was not modern laboratory science, but it was still evidence-based thinking, cause and effect, repeated over time, checked by memory. And here, the ancient world becomes more advanced than we often imagine. A plant was not simply food or poison. It could be safe in one season and dangerous in another. Safe when ripe, dangerous when unripe. Safe after cooking, dangerous raw. Safe for adults, risky for children. Useful as medicine in a small amount, harmful as a meal. Think about a modern medicine cabinet. The same bottle can help or harm depending on the dose. One pill may reduce pain. 10 can damage the body. The difference is not the object itself. The difference is amount, timing, preparation, and who takes it. Ancient plant knowledge often worked the same way. The question was not only, is this poisonous? The better question was, poisonous how? To whom? In what amount? Raw or cooked? Which part? At what season? After what preparation? That changes the whole story. Because once humans learned that preparation could change danger, food became much larger. Acorns are a good example. Many acorns contain tannins that make them bitter and hard on the body. Raw acorns are not simple snack food, but when people cracked them, pounded them, and leached them with water, bitterness could be reduced. Across many cultures, acorns became valuable food not because they were easy, but because people learned the sequence that made them useful. The science is easy to understand. Water can carry away some soluble compounds. Heat can change plant tissues and reduce certain risks. Grinding increases surface area, making soaking or cooking more effective. Roasting can make some foods easier to digest. Fermentation can transform foods by letting microbes break down substances that humans cannot handle well alone. In other words, processing was not just cooking. It was ancient chemistry by action. And archaeology supports that. Grinding stones, hearths, charred plant remains, cut marks, residues, and storage pits suggest ancient humans were not merely grabbing wild foods and eating them as found. They were processing. They were transforming. They were using tools, heat, water, time, and social rules to make difficult foods usable. In many environments, survival depended on that transformation. Easy foods were not always available. Fruits ripen and disappear. Big animals move. Honey is seasonal. But roots, seeds, nuts, tubers, shellfish, and stored foods could keep people alive through lean periods if they were handled correctly. The strange part is that risky foods sometimes became important foods. Why would humans bother with them at all? Because hunger changes the math. A safe food that is rare does not help much in a dry season. A difficult food that is abundant can become life-saving if you know how to process it. Poison knowledge was not only about avoiding danger, it was about unlocking calories. Calories are not just numbers on a modern diet label. They are usable energy for walking, carrying children, making tools, healing wounds, shivering through cold nights, thinking clearly, and staying alive. In prehistory, learning how to make a toxic or bitter food edible could add an entire emergency food supply to the landscape. But no one learned this alone. Before writing, memory had to do the work of a library. There were no signs beside poisonous plants, no field guides for mushrooms, no warning labels on shellfish after warm tides, no chart telling which root needed soaking and which one should never be touched. So, knowledge lived in people. A grandmother's warning, a skilled gatherer's correction, a healer's careful dose, a hunter's memory of a sick animal, a parent pulling a child's hand away from bright seeds, a story told around the fire about someone who ignored a rule and suffered for it. To us, some ancient warnings might sound like superstition. A grove guarded by spirits, a cursed berry, a pool that belonged to the dead, a season when the sea became angry. But beneath the supernatural language, there may have been practical survival information. A taboo can be compressed data. Do not drink from that green pool. Do not eat that plant raw. Do not gather those shellfish in that season. Do not chew that bitter root unless it has been prepared. Do not let children play with those seeds. Do not eat meat that smells sweet and rotten. The rule may outlive the first person who became sick. That is the point. A culture can remember danger longer than a single body can. This mattered because poison often teaches too late. If something burns your mouth immediately, the lesson is obvious. But some toxins do not punish the body right away. Some effects arrive hours later. Some contaminated food causes sickness after the group has already moved. Some poisonous mushrooms may seem harmless at first. Some infections from bad water or spoiled food take time to show themselves. That delay makes learning harder. The brain has to connect yesterday's meal to today's pain. A group has to remember who ate what, where it came from, how it was prepared, and who became sick. The more delayed the effect, the more important social memory becomes. Imagine a small camp after a bad night. 2 people vomited. 1 child has stomach pain. The others are worried. They review what happened. Who ate the new berries? Who drank from the still pool? Was the meat fresh? Did everyone eat the same root, or only the ones gathered near the marsh? Did the sickness begin quickly or after sleep? This was not a formal medical investigation, but it was still an investigation. And if the same result happened again, the pattern became stronger. Over generations, those patterns became instructions. Peel this, roast that, soak this twice. Avoid the green part. Feed only a little at first. Never eat it after frost. Do not eat from that patch after floodwater. Use this one on the skin, not in the mouth. That is how ancient humans turned accidents into knowledge. But here is the twist that makes poison knowledge even more complicated. The same dangerous substance could sometimes become a tool. A plant too harsh for food might become medicine. A bitter bark might dull pain or reduce fever. A strong-tasting leaf might be used to purge the stomach. A toxic plant might stun fish in a stream. Some poisons could be used on arrows or traps. Some irritating substances could keep pests away. This does not mean ancient medicine was always effective, or that every traditional remedy worked. That would be too simple. But it does mean ancient people were experimenting with effect. They noticed that substances changed bodies, sometimes in harmful ways, sometimes in useful ways, often both, depending on dose. Dose is one of the most important ideas in toxicology. A tiny amount may have little effect. A moderate amount may affect the body strongly. A large amount may kill. Even modern medicines can become dangerous at the wrong dose. Ancient humans did not need the word toxicology to understand the practical version. A little may help, a lot may hurt. That is why dangerous knowledge often belonged to trusted people, skilled gatherers, elders, healers, hunters, and caregivers who had seen the signs before. Caregivers mattered because children are natural poison testers in the worst possible way. They touch, taste, and grab before they understand danger. A child sees a bright berry and reaches. An adult sees the same berry and sees a memory. Swelling, vomiting, death, or a rule passed down from someone older. Teaching children was not optional, it was survival. Children learned by walking behind adults, watching what was gathered, what was ignored, and what was prepared with unusual care. They heard fear in an adult's voice before they understood the biology. A dangerous plant became not just information, but a feeling. But human groups moved, and movement made everything harder. A rule that worked in one valley might fail in another. A familiar-looking berry could belong to a different species. A mushroom could resemble a safe one from the old homeland, but behave differently. Shellfish that were safe in one season could become dangerous in another place. A root that looked like food could hide a different chemistry under the soil. Migration turned poison knowledge into a living system, not a fixed book. People watched animals again. They tested cautiously again. They learned from neighboring groups when possible. They traded not only stone, shells, tools, and partners, but warnings. Information itself was a survival resource. This is where poison knowledge connects to human success as a species. Humans are not the strongest animal. We do not have the best noses, the toughest stomachs, or the sharpest claws. But we are extremely good at social learning. One person's mistake can become another person's safety. One generation's pain can become the next generation's rule. One group's discovery can travel through language. That is not culture as decoration. That is culture as survival equipment. The evidence for ancient plant use is often fragmentary because plants decay. Leaves rot, roots disappear, wooden containers vanish. But the surviving clues still matter. Charred seeds show use of plant foods. Grinding stones show processing. Residues can reveal starches, oils, or plant compounds. Dental calculus can sometimes preserve microscopic traces of what people ate or breathed. Hearths and ash layers show repeated cooking and processing. Together, these traces suggest something important. Ancient humans were not passive eaters of whatever nature offered. They were active editors of the landscape. They sorted it, tested it, cooked it, washed it, avoided it, remembered it, turned some dangers into food, some into medicine, and some into warnings. But they never had perfect safety. Ancient poison knowledge was impressive, but it was not magic. People still made mistakes. Children still tasted dangerous things. Starving groups may have taken risks they would normally avoid. New environments could fool even skilled foragers. Look-alike plants and fungi could be deadly. Spoiled food could harm a group that had eaten it safely before. So the answer is not that ancient humans always knew. They knew enough, often enough, because knowledge accumulated. They built a filter between hunger and danger. First came observation. What animals ate, what smelled wrong, what burned the mouth, what grew where. Then came cautious testing. Tiny amounts, waiting, preparation, and attention. Then came processing. Soaking, peeling, roasting, pounding, drying, and fermenting. Then came social memory. Warnings, recipes, taboos, specialists, stories, and children learning before they were old enough to make the mistake themselves. A supermarket label does something similar today. It takes invisible danger and makes it visible. Contains peanuts, cook thoroughly, keep refrigerated, toxic if swallowed. Ancient humans had no printed labels. So, they created living labels in language, habit, fear, food preparation, and memory. So how did ancient humans know what was poisonous? Not by guessing blindly, not by being immune to danger, and not because nature kindly marked every threat. They knew through attention, pain, memory, testing, preparation, and teaching. They knew because survival turned the whole community into a learning system. Long before laboratories, humans were already asking scientific questions with their lives. What happens if we touch this, cook it, soak it, eat only a little, or avoid it next time? The answers were not written in books. They were carried in bodies, stories, and shared survival. Today, when you read a label or throw away food that smells wrong, you are using a modern version of an ancient instinct. Before poison had a chemical name, it had a memory. And for ancient humans, memory could be the difference between feeding the group and losing someone before morning.